Hello Gemini and welcome to your monthly astrology forecast for March. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. This is a big month for your ambitions and your hopes for the future. It really shapes up with the Sun and Mercury, your ruler, in the sign of Pisces as the new month begins. But Mercury is tracking backwards, as it has been since the 17th of February last month, and it's going to be going on quite a jaunt this month. It reverses into the sign of Aquarius on the 4th, it comes out of retrograde on the 10th, it returns to Pisces on the 16th, and then eventually gets back to where the retrograde began on the 29th of this month. So I feel that you should expect a degree of fluidity around your thinking, around your worldly interactions. Because the Sun and Mercury, as this month begins, are in your 10th house or your solar midheaven. This is where your actions, your thoughts are more directed towards gaining a recognition for your skills and an appreciation for what you bring to situations. Now, this doesn't have to be in a professional context, but I think for a lot of people that may be where they're thinking. But it could be around a hobby. If your passion is your grandchildren, that could be where you're going to want to invest your energy. But the interesting thing is, because Mercury is inverting back into Aquarius on the 4th, I think if you have had some changes of plan or things have altered from how you felt earlier in February, that process could continue, and it may see you just checking out some sources of information, particularly in the sign of Aquarius, where Mercury is exalted, so it loves being here. You may even find yourself travelling in relation to your job. But from the 5th through to the 12th, we have a conjunction between the Sun and Neptune. If you work as a caregiver, Gemini, or you work as in health environment, or as a healer, a life coach, anything to do with understanding the less tangible parts of life, or you're just a very imaginative person, you can be very creative through your work, you can really shine over those 5 days. But I do think for all Gemini people, Neptune being on the Sun could also reduce your energy a little bit. And it's therefore asking you, in conjunction with that retrograde, to just be mindful of where you invest your energy, so it's proportionate to the amount that you actually have. But also on the 5th, Venus, the planet of love and affection, moves out of a very friendly location that it served through for 28 days and into a much more sheltered one. If there is a deep relationship you've had, be it with a professional situation, a company you've worked for some time, or in a romantic context, which you're not quite sure is serving your greater good, the combination of Venus and Uranus from the 5th through to the 12th could see you make a decision to liberate yourself from this, and perhaps in quite a sudden way. It's not for me to tell you what to do at all. That's not what astrology should be about. But if you do feel ultra restless, just be conscious that something may be coming up from your depths which is influencing you in a bit more of a subjective way, which is an ironic thing because you are resolutely a logical person, and Uranus generally can help us to detach ourselves a little bit, separate ourselves from something, so we can look at it with a more perspective. But I think it's going to be a bit more emotional about where you're invested. So it doesn't matter if that's through a financial or business connection or personally. So that's just something to be mindful of. But then we have the full moon in Virgo. Virgo is very much to do with precision. This occurs on the 9th. So it's shining back across the heavens, the moon, in an opposition to the Sun in Pisces. So we've got a mutable, you're mutable as well. That's you move, you flex. So we've got a mutable full moon. But this full moon actually forges an absolutely divine alliance with Jupiter and Pluto. And they forge from the 9th through to the end of the month one of the most exciting combinations I can remember in your situation for many a moon. Because of course, over the last couple of years, Gemini, Saturn has been so dominating around your 8th solar house, which is where you're close to people, it's where you're thinking about long-term finance, it's where you're thinking about getting value for where that deep investment of time, energy and enthusiasm goes. But Saturn has at times made it a tough hoe. And if financially things have been quite tricky over that time, I think what this full moon and also this combination between Jupiter and Pluto, which goes on through to the end of the month, it's going to give you the opportunity to find a better balance between what you do want to do in your worldly interactions, but also protecting you in terms of your emotional needs, your needs for time out, to relax, to enjoy peace and tranquility, and not necessarily always being on the go in quite such a frenetic way that Gemini or third house people like me, I've got a lot of third house, and in my draconic chart I am a Gemini sun in the third house, but I also have Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, in the third house in my natal horoscope. So I kind of get this. So I think this full moon is kind of saying, have more faith in where you've invested and it will steer you in the right direction. But I do think that combination between the Sun and Neptune does ask you not just to prioritize your energy, but also to be a bit realistic about where you can get a return in the wider world, which does then go on through the prism of this full moon and the combination of Jupiter and Pluto to protect you by bringing in the necessary funds and sustenance. So it's worth setting your intention on that full moon, which obviously can be a time of harvest, but that you are worthy of receiving goodness coming to you. That's going to be a great thing to do. Now on the 10th, as I said before, your ruler goes forwards. So that's going to help to crystallize your ideas about your career, worldly interaction, where you have obligations and responsibilities, where you want to sparkle and show just how talented you are. Now, the 16th, I mentioned, Mercury in Pisces, of course. And then on the 20th, we have the vernal equinox. This is when the Sun gets back to the point in the zodiac where the whole journey of the Western tropical zodiac begins again. Now, in the Eastern zodiac, so on sidereal astrology, this doesn't have the same relevance. So what we have here is the new beginning. And for you, the Sun moving into Aries on that day, but also combining with the comet Chiron, the wounded healer, suggests that a friendship that perhaps has been suffering a little bit, or an inspiration, or almost a kind of idealism that's within you, that maybe has been sacrificed on the altar of necessity in terms of grappling with the practicalities of life and your work and responsibility, that gets a chance to really heal across 3 or 4 days and on the back of the new moon, which occurs in a semi-sextile with Uranus. So a hunch, something from deep within your psyche, a light bulb moment, a spark of imagination, the confidence to do something completely different can really get you going on the back of that new moon on the 24th. But equally, Saturn moves on the 22nd out of Capricorn. So it's been there for 2¼ years. The bad news in some ways is it is going to be coming back from the 1st of July. But seriously, Saturn's always somewhere, and wherever it is in your sun sign chart, it will still be having an impact on your natal horoscope, which is based on your personal astrology. And that might be a little bit different to what I'm telling you here, but we can coexist between both systems. This gives you an overall idea of what energies are unfolding for the Sun or the Ascendant in Gemini. So I think Saturn moving into Aquarius, your sister air sign, is terrific because it's taken Saturn out of the turgid 8th house, which is about potentially transformation. Yes, you know the word I'm avoiding saying. It can be a time of real endings, brutal experiences, where we discover that things can be quite testing in life. Moving into the 9th house, this is all about opening up your knowledge. It's about being more daring. It's about travel. It's about higher education. If you've ever thought, do you know, I would have loved to have got that degree when I was younger, circumstances didn't allow it. I think in the next couple of years, if you're that person, you're going to take on the challenge to educate yourself to a much higher level. Now also, Mars, the planet of thrust, moves out of Capricorn on the 31st and joins up with Saturn in Aquarius. But Saturn also rules Aquarius. It only moves 1 degree into Aquarius this year. It returns to Capricorn on the 1st of July and then goes back into Aquarius on the 14th of December. So it only nibbles into the 1st degree, which in Indian astrology, the first dward, the first 2.5 degrees of Aquarius, is governed by Aquarius. So it's a double Aquarius energy. So I think for you, and especially if you're born right at the start of Gemini, this is going to really be exciting. And Mars being there as well suggests you can have the determination, thrust, but the staying power that comes from Saturn to marshal your resources to improve your lot through growth. So you're going to be working very hard as this month comes to an end, even if it's on the things that absolutely inspire you. Also, your ruler Mercury, now it's picked up pace and is going to be coming out of shadow on the 29th. That's angling up brilliantly with Uranus. So a confidential conversation or talking to someone in the know, but who's giving you the steer, but in a way which can really help you in the wider world, they could tell you a piece of information which is absolutely stunning and can really transform your situation very, very helpfully as this month draws to a close. So there's so much excitement, so much to go for, but it's important to understand that the full moon does embrace the energies of Jupiter, the planet of growth, and Pluto, the planet of change, but in a much more positive way. But it is about getting your work-life balance right. The new moon is very much about thinking about the future, being more idealistic, perhaps getting together with friends, celebrating the journey of life, which can be, as we all know, quite tough at times, but also when it really works, it can be so amazing. And I think as this month comes to an end, you're going to be lighting people up with your magic. And remember, Gemini, you've got 4 months of Venus working its way through your sign, and that begins next month. So I'll be updating you about that around about in the middle of February. It's going to be a bit earlier because of all the different demands I've had with the turn of the year. And that's really exciting for you. If you'd like to elevate your knowledge into personal astrology beyond your zodiac sign and embrace what your personal horoscope will mean based on your time, date and place of birth, please see the link beneath this video. You can order a 12-month forecast and get a character analysis and get 30% off, or choose to speak to me personally in a one-to-one consultation. But for now, good luck and goodbye.